St. Mary's Elkhart, District 4, Lexington Park, for a gunshot wound. Elkhart, 21,615 Liberty Street, Carteret Pacific Drive. Still taking further information. However, we know a white Nissan that crashed. However, there is a subject that has multiple gunshot wounds. Units able to respond knowledge on the police channel 1109.
January 3rd, 2025. A quiet Friday morning in Lexington Park, Maryland. The weather was calm, the streets were still. At 11:10 a.m., a woman named Shaquanda Odom pulled her silver sedan into the parking lot of a modest neighborhood just off Liberty Street. She thought she was there to talk, maybe sort things out, but just moments later, she was dead. Shot twice by the man she once trusted most, her ex-husband, Jason Presley. And what makes this case even more disturbing is that she saw it coming. Hi guys, grab a cup of coffee and settle in for this thrilling true crime story. I'd love to know where you're watching this video from. Let me know in the comments. Don't hesitate to join the conversation too. Your thoughts and input are a vital part of this story. Welcome to 24/7 True Crime Chronicles, where all our stories are based on true crimes. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel and turn on the notification bell icon so you won't miss any of our newest stories. Okay, let's continue the story. Shaquanda Latisse Odom was born in 1988 in Southern Maryland. The youngest of 3 siblings, she was known by family and friends for her calm demeanor and protective nature. Growing up in California, Maryland, a small town in St. Mary's County, Shaquanda was raised primarily by her mother after her father passed away when she was just 10. She attended Great Mills High School, where she was involved in student government and worked part-time in retail to help her mom with bills. After graduating, she worked in healthcare administration at a local clinic. But her real pride? Her 2 sons. Everything she did was for them. Shaquanda met Jason David Presley in 2015. He was charming, confident, and came from a nearby town. At first, friends said she lit up around him. He would pick her up from work, bring her lunch on breaks, and treat her sons with kindness. Shaquanda, who liked to feel safe, thought she had finally found that with Jason. But that image wouldn't last. Jason had a temper, subtle at first, with sharp comments when she spoke to other men or criticism over how she dressed. Over time, his words became louder, his presence more controlling. By 2018, the couple had married, but cracks were showing. Police were called to their home at least twice over verbal disturbances, though no arrests were made. Still, she stayed, perhaps for the kids or for the dream she once believed in. By 2019, things had changed. The man who once brought her lunch now questioned her every move. Friends say Shaquanda began to withdraw. She stopped attending her church regularly, and family visits became rare. Jason had become possessive. He'd check her phone, drive by her job, and even accused her of cheating when she stayed late at work. There's no public record of physical abuse during that time, but controlling behavior is often the first warning sign of escalation. In 2022, Shaquanda finally made the decision to leave. She moved into a relative's apartment with her sons and filed for separation. She told a friend, "I just want peace. I want to sleep without thinking someone's watching the door." But peace never came. In the months that followed, Jason began showing up unannounced. Once, he waited in the parking lot of her workplace for 2 hours. Another time, he allegedly followed her while she drove her kids to school. A police report noted a caller reporting a known male sitting outside her apartment in a black vehicle, refusing to leave. No charges were filed. Officers documented the complaint but said there was insufficient evidence to pursue criminal stalking. Shaquanda never filed a protective order. Some believe she was afraid, others say she hoped he'd move on. December 2024. Friends say she was trying to rebuild her life. She was seeing someone new, casually, and even told her sister she felt hopeful again, texting, "He's still lurking, but I'm not going back. I refuse to live in fear." But Jason hadn't let go. In fact, something had changed. In late December, he was overheard telling someone at a gas station, "If I can't have her, no one will." A neighbor, dramatized in an interview, recalled this with chills, not thinking he meant it literally, just figuring he was angry. 2 weeks later, he'd followed through on the threat. Friday morning, January 3rd, 2025. The temperature was 41 degrees in Lexington Park. According to a neighbor, Shaquanda had dropped her son off at daycare earlier and told a friend she was going to meet Jason, possibly to talk, possibly to exchange something. She pulled into the 21,000 block of Liberty Street in a silver sedan. It was a quiet neighborhood, the kind where kids ride bikes and retirees sit on porches. But that morning, something felt off. A witness reported hearing voices outside, then 2 shots, real close together, followed by screaming. According to Jason's later confession, he approached the car calmly. Shaquanda rolled down her window halfway. They exchanged words. Then her final warning, "You better not." But he did. Presley pulled a 9mm handgun from his waistband and fired 2 shots through the driver's side window. Both hit Shaquanda. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Her body slumped against the steering wheel, still buckled in. She never had a chance. Hours later, Jason walked into the St. Mary's County Detention Center with no emotion. He told officers he had shot his ex-wife that morning and handed them the handgun. The Maryland State Police stated that the suspect voluntarily surrendered and was cooperative, and the weapon was recovered with 2 rounds missing. He was charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and use of a firearm in a violent crime. He is currently being held without bond at the St. Mary's County Detention Center. News of Shaquanda Odom's murder spread quickly throughout St. Mary's County. By Saturday morning, her name was in headlines. Lexington Park woman gunned down in broad daylight by ex-husband. Candlelight vigils were held in her memory, and flowers were laid near the blood-stained sidewalk where she died. A paraphrased social media comment read, "She tried to live quietly. She tried to move on. And still, he found her. Still, he ended her." Her family declined to speak to media, but her close friends and community members took to social media, demanding answers and accountability. Shaquanda never filed for a formal restraining order, which is not unusual. Fear of retaliation, disbelief that the courts will help, and economic dependence all play a role. A domestic violence hotline worker's paraphrased voiceover stated, "We hear it all the time. They say, 'He hasn't hit me yet.' They won't do anything until it's too late." And sadly, they're usually right. On January 4th, 2025, the day after Shaquanda Odom was killed, Jason David Presley appeared before a Maryland court via video call. He was charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and use of a firearm in a violent crime. At his initial appearance, the judge denied bond, citing both the seriousness of the crime and the danger he posed to the public. Prosecutors say the murder was premeditated and coldly executed. The case is pending trial, and Jason has not yet entered a formal plea. A courtroom observer noted, "He didn't cry, he didn't look sorry, he just stood there like this was routine." If convicted, Jason Presley faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Shaquanda's death didn't just shake a family, it shook an entire region. Within 2 weeks, her name was being mentioned in state legislative circles, alongside discussions about tightening Maryland's domestic violence response laws. Shaquanda Latisse Odom was a mother, a daughter, a friend, a woman trying to reclaim her peace. She never imagined that simply moving on would cost her life. But her story, her strength, can be the wake-up call someone else needs. She saw the red flags, she tried to distance herself, but the system and those around her didn't act fast enough. If you are in a controlling or abusive relationship, please hear this. You are not overreacting, you are not alone, and you do not need permission to leave. We remember Shaquanda not for how she died, but for how she tried to live, with hope, with love for her children, and the courage to break free.